There is no doubt that Hollywood makes heroes out of vehicles, especially awesome cars like Eleanor from Gone in 60 Seconds. And we know the silver screen can make cars very desirable, like the original Bullitt Mustang from the movie Bullitt. There are cars like that that get lost in history and become very valuable. Also, Jim Morrison's GT500. That's something that is a big story going on right now. People are talking about it. The Blue Lady, the GT500, if it's really a survivor car or not. Now, these cars have become famous through the movies or other media, but there's something very interesting that I see going on right now, and that is the popularity of cars that weren't only popular in the movies, but cars that are becoming extremely popular in today's internet world, such as the Mustang Lifestyle Terminator Cobra, Ruby that belongs to Cletus McFarlane, Sketchy Vert that has appeared on 1320 Video, not as an insanely beautiful, awesome car, but as a car with tons of power, lots of reputation, and making a name for itself. We have Blade's Cobra, the 2003 black Terminator Cobra that has created so many dreams for so many people. If you read the comments in those videos I made, so many people say, I love that car. That's the reason I bought a Terminator Cobra. And speaking of black Cobras, the Snakebite Cobra. There have been people telling me that they have seen Snakebite, the actual car, back at Mustang Magic. It's coming back out of retirement. The car was put away, said to be as a roller, owned by the mechanic. And I think the value of the Terminator Cobras is increasing so much right now that you're seeing people making decisions on getting these cars back in the road. And for a lot of people who talk about what this car meant to them, I would put value on this car. I think it would be very valuable one day. It's a car that everybody knows. It's a car that people watched on the older platforms like StreetFire.net. This is a very iconic car, and I made a video about this car. It has more details. And if I remember correctly, I think this car only has like 20,000 miles on it. And it's a low mile car, it's an iconic car, and it's a collectible car now. So I could see this car bringing in more money than most '03 Cobras, and it should. Everybody loved this car. Everybody knows this car. Why is this car not worth more than movie cars? It should be worth as much as movie cars, in my opinion. So you might see a movement where people start asking high dollar for these cars, and rightfully so. But I really think that a lot of these cars have a lot of value in them, and it's not just movie cars that should be valuable. It should be these cars that are famous, because just like in the movies, these cars are the ones that are attracting everybody's attention. These are famous cars now. They might as well be celebrities. This is real life. That's different than the movies. I know Steve McQueen did some of his own stunts in the movie Bullitt, and I know that there are actors who did some of the real stunts, but we're talking about real life in these cars. This is somebody taking a camera and pointing at reality. And this was a new age of the internet when nobody had any idea of what it's really going to be. You just started watching these videos as they came out, and next thing you know, everybody's talking about the same thing. A lot of these cars created dreams for myself. They made me want to go out and get my own Terminator Cobras, which I bought, and I've had a lot of Mustangs over the years, but it's these cars that create the dreams. And now some of them are in rather rough shape, like Snow White, one of my favorite Cobras, the DC Cobra, Destructive Creations Cobra. That video is so awesome, created a lot of dreams for me, and maybe my dreams won't be as important as other people's, but there's no doubt that YouTube and other video platforms over the years have created dreams just like the silver screen has created in the past. And I think even more so, there are celebrities born in this internet world that we're in now, where we have these cars that mean so much to us, and to me, they're worth more than the movie cars that you see out in Hollywood. I mean, let's face the facts. There are millions of views on these YouTube videos, especially on videos like 1320. There are so many views that these cars are ever so popular today. And I'd say they're more popular than the movie cars are. Now, movie cars are kind of a hard thing to pin down because the whole world knows them. Whether you're a car enthusiast or not, people have heard of cars like Bullitt or Gone in 60 Seconds Eleanor. Now, these cars are all special to people because they've seen them on the movies and then they create dreams in their hearts about them. But we're talking about the internet cars now, and I think the same dreams are being made for people. And these cars, like this convertible Trans Am and Ruby the Corvette, were very basic average cars until they were put in the hands of the right people. Ruby was an auction Corvette, and at one point they were going to give the car away. It was just something for content on the YouTube channel, but it evolved into this massive race car. And without Cletus putting his touch on this car, it would have been just an average Corvette, maybe got parted out, maybe fixed and repaired. We don't know. But the truth is, the car wasn't anything special until it got into the right hands. So that's something that needs to be understood. It's not just every car out there can be worth something. But it's cool to see these stories unfold. The previous owner of that Corvette showed up on the channel. He had reached out to Cletus and said, hey, that's my old car. And they had this whole thing where he got to see the car again. And I think stories like that become very iconic. I think that's really cool. And if you look at the videos about this auction Corvette, it had over 3 million views on them getting the car. And Cletus had the power to create value in this car. And now I think it's something special. If you were to sell this car, it should bring more money than an average Corvette or even a car that has a lot of money into it, which it does. Now, I talked about Mustang Lifestyle's '03 Cobra, and that car was actually wrecked. It had a few owners after he sold it, and it was wrecked pretty bad, and it went on Copart, and we don't know what happened to the car at this point because he was trying to buy it back, and I don't think it worked out. Maybe it did, but this is an example of a car that could be lost in time. It could get parted out. A lot of times these Terminators, when they get wrecked pretty bad, they sell for parts really easily. Someone might have fixed this car. We don't know. But I think as these cars start to get lost like this, they start to gain value. When people start hunting for them, they want them even more. So this car being wrecked right now, maybe it will never be fixed. Maybe it'll just get lost in time and nobody will care. But I think that some of these cars are going to be very valuable. I know the original Bullitt was worth millions, and Little Red, the Shelby prototype that was sitting like this for several decades, was restored when it was found, and it was really exciting. And at the time, that car wasn't really sought after. I mean, Little Red was really lucky because it was a prototype car that was put back into the system. Ford didn't want to crush so many of these prototype cars, so they returned them to kind of stock and sold them back to the dealerships and let them go out there. And the person who bought Little Red didn't even know what it was when he bought it. In fact, he asked them what EXP meant on the side of the car, and they said, oh, it means experimental or something, but we can't tell you anything more about it. See, Ford didn't even give them documentation to the dealer and say, this is an experimental car, you can tell people it might be worth something one day. That didn't happen. It was just sold as it was, and it went out there, and people drove it around. If you look at these pictures, the car wasn't garaged and loved and cherished. It was driven around like a normal car. In fact, if you look at the front of the car, it's got a big bash in the front fender. It was in Colorado, Wyoming. It was driven around in the snow, I'm sure, and just kind of beat up, probably hit a deer or slid into a snowbank, or who knows what happened to the car. But this car was never perceived as something that would have future value. Now, I do understand that we're talking about Shelbys here, and we're talking about something that nobody really knew would be worth anything, and now they are worth a ton. But isn't that what I'm talking about right now? About internet famous cars that perhaps they could be sold like the Mustang Lifestyle car was. They could be wrecked, they could be lost, and maybe later somebody will start looking for these cars. I know that to me, I think it would be cool to buy cars that were famous from videos that I watched on YouTube growing up, special cars to me, like the Snakebite Cobra or Blades Cobra. As a matter of fact, talking about Blades Cobra, he was very famous on the forums. Now, I'm not talking famous like millions of people, but the car community knew who he was and they loved his videos. I actually talked with Blades. We messaged back and forth a little bit. He's disappeared from the internet and he'll come and pop his head up and say hi once in a while. He keeps a low profile. But I talked to him, and there are a lot of people who say, Blades is my hero, Blades was so cool, I loved watching his videos, where's Blades, where is he? And you know, it starts to build this enthusiasm and excitement of something that's hidden. And everybody wanted to know, where's Blades' original Cobra? Now, I made a video about this car, and Blades had told me he actually sold it to a neighbor. And there was rumors it got wrecked and all sorts of stuff. And he has another black Terminator right now, or at least he did last time I talked to him. But I'd like to know where his original Cobra is, because that's a car that so many people loved. And somebody has it right now, or at least it's said that somebody has it. He had said his neighbor had bought the car at one point. So these are the kind of stories that I think are really cool. Snow White is an '03 Cobra in Las Vegas, and it has a lot of street credit, a lot of street racing, and it created dreams for a lot of people. One of those people is My Taxi 1320. He has this awesome turbo Terminator Cobra. It's an amazing car, and he watched Snow White, this white Cobra, and he got these dreams about having a Terminator himself, and that's when he got the yellow one and called it My Taxi. And so the owner of Taxi talks about how he used to watch this white Cobra and he wanted a Terminator so bad. He loved to see how it did on the street, and this is when this car was new. So this is a picture of Snow White in Las Vegas. Beautiful looking car. Back then it was nice condition, it was new, and it created the dreams for other people like My Taxi. And so I look at this car and, you know, I think, wow, that's so cool. And I look at it with the glowing taillight sitting there on a parking garage in Vegas, and I think, man, that would be kind of cool to own that car. And I talked to the guy who owns the car, and he said, I'm never selling the car unless it's a family emergency or something like that happens. I'm going to keep it forever. Now, this is where the world of collectability can take several turns. On one hand, you have a clapped out, worn down '03 Cobra that's seen better days. The paint's fading, it's all oxidized and chalky. I mean, the car has been beat. I mean, I would imagine the torque boxes are pretty ripped through from hard launches. It has a solid axle and a turbo and all this stuff done to it. And most people would say, why would you want that car? Go buy another white, nice, low-mile '03 Cobra and build it yourself. And ultimately, that is what I did with my red 10th anniversary Terminator. I bought it and built it up the way I wanted it. But there's still something special about this car. Let's look at the other side of the coin. It's a rare street race history car that one day might be worth something to somebody. And if he would have sold me this car, I would have restored it and made it something nice, and I would have taken pride in owning a piece of history. But maybe this car is only valuable to some people, and it's not going to be valuable to millionaires who are looking to collect this. I am trying to talk about if these cars are going to be worth something in the future, but the right buyer has to be there with the right desires wanting this car. So I can't say that this car is going to be worth more than any other '03 Cobra in its current shape. Now, I could talk about a lot of cars, and there are several out there, and I don't want to miss all the different cars because there are so many beautiful ones. But this one, Intervention 302, this was definitely a car that a lot of people loved. And he owned this car when it was relatively new. He still owns it today. And this is a car that I think should have a lot of value as well. Somebody asked him once, would you sell the car? And he said, yeah, 50 grand. And the car has some money into it, so he's probably in it 50 grand. But this is one of those iconic Terminator Cobras. Everybody loved it when it had the CCW wheels on it. Everybody loved the blue. They liked the photography. I think Him and his friends did very well at taking good pictures of the car, and I would watch these videos and dream of having a Terminator myself. And I would wash dishes and take care of my little kids, and I would have this playing on my computer while I'd be doing housework and stuff and looking over and watching it and just thinking, man, that's so cool. I love that car, and I ended up getting a couple Terminators and 18 Mustangs later. But I owe some of my dreams to this car and to him for making this car something special. And so I think this car should be worth something more than the average car. And I think these cars could be worth something in the future. So let me know what you think. I want to hear your comments because I know a lot of you agree with me. Some of you might say, those cars are just cars. They're not going to be worth anything. Some of you might say, those cars created dreams for everybody. They should be worth something. So let me know in the comments what you think, because I really like reading your comments and I like to know if you're on the same page as I am or not. But basically what I'm getting at is internet famous cars are very special. They've created dreams for people, and I think they should be worth as much or more than movie cars. So thanks for watching. I appreciate all your comments, likes, everything that you do to support the channel. I really like having conversations with everyone, so thanks for dropping comments and being part of this community. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Mustang content.